have a little something to drink, have a cookie, whatever it is, take a 15-minute break, and then guess what? Hit the books. Sit down, find a quiet place, a desk, a table, no radio, no TV, no cell phones, no texting. Sit down and hit the books. And I promise you, if you do this, every day you will have a great life. The only way to succeed, education. So that's my message to you. I want to tell you that in this audience we have a guy who's a legend. Hey man, knock it off with the gum and all that stuff. Stop it. We got a guy in this office, in this room, who was the greatest athlete that ever came out of Roosevelt High School. He won 10 letters. He was a poor kid. He lived in my neighborhood above a pool hall. His father owned a tiny liquor store in our neighborhood, and my buddy Fred grew it into the largest retail wine businesses in the country. He's the greatest athlete that ever came out of Roosevelt. And a couple of years back, he got a letter from our ex-principal at Roosevelt High School, who used to be the football coach. I want to read you this. I'll show you what a guy can do with his life. Dear Fred, this is on Roosevelt alumni stationery. As you know, I've been part of Roosevelt High School for a longer period of time than any other Rough Rider. I entered Roosevelt in 1937 as a freshman, and I've been involved with our school as a student, football coach, teacher, counselor, and I also was the principal. During the last 25 years, I served as the editor of our Roosevelt Alumni News, and from 1937 to 2005 is a very long stretch. I assume most alumni feel my knowledge of past graduates and the history of our school is as good as it gets. So now let me tell you why I wrote the letter. While checking old yearbooks and reading clippings about school athletic history, one person stands out, a young man named Fred Rosen. Not only were you one of the best athletes the school ever produced, you're the only athlete that ever earned 10, check this out, 10 major varsity athletic letters. No one has ever achieved this feat in the 78 years Roosevelt has been opened, and I don't think it'll ever happen again. You followed this success in college, in your later life as a good family man, terrific businessman, and a great guy. Fred, in the early 60s, the last 3 years I coached football, our record was 29-1-1. But if I had Fred Rosen around, it would have read 30-0. Freddie, would you stand up? What do you think of that story? So that's my message to you, and it would make me very happy if you would remember what I said and make a good life for yourself, be decent people, do your homework, respect your teachers and your parents, no drugs, no booze, just drive straight ahead, get an education, and have a good life. So if there are any questions, I'll be happy to answer them. Oh yeah, are there any boxing fans here? None of the guys are boxing fans? Oh yeah, of course. How many of you guys have heard of the greatest trainer that ever lived, Freddie Roach? He trains Manny Pacquiao, Mike Tyson.
Oh yeah, I heard of Mike Tyson.
Yeah, he trained Mike Tyson, he trained Oscar De La Hoya. He's my buddy. I represented him. By the way, I am the attorney for the California Boxing Hall of Fame. I was the attorney for the World Boxing Hall of Fame. I represented many world champions. I never charged any of them, and so I was inducted into the California Boxing Hall of Fame as an amateur boxer and for all of the achievements I made to boxing over my lifetime. So I'll tell you very briefly how I got into it. I raised my son by myself. I got him into boxing. I got hooked. I started boxing. I've had a lot of amateur fights, and I still box to this day, and I love it. I still do, yeah. I box at Freddie Roach's gym. Pardon? 75.
Oh my gosh, he outlived.
Now,
No, he don't look that old.
check it out. Take it up.
Oh, okay.
I got a nice right hand. Now, you know what happens when you get older? I'm a pretty big guy. The last thing that goes is the power. I got power. But when you get older, the legs go, you know, and the power comes from the legs and the hips. People that don't know about boxing, you know how they fight? Like this? That's called arm punches. So after about 1 minute, you can't breathe. You know how a boxer fight? From the hips. So I can fight. Any of you see the Mayweather fight?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a great fighter. Mayweather's one of the great fighters. But I know many world champions. I know ex-heavyweight champions. I know welterweights, middleweights, and I still box. Yeah, every once a week I go up there and I do it. Any other questions? All right, it's been an honor to talk to you, and do what you got. Freddie, here, come on up.
I wasn't expecting to say anything. I just came to see my old friend. He's 2 years younger than me. We all hung out in the same neighborhood, Humboldt Park, badass neighborhoods, you know. And we took 2 buses to get to Roosevelt High School, which was one of the greatest high schools in Chicago. It still is, and you get a good education here. And he was just as big a bum as he said he was. Everything he said was true. We saw some nutty kid run around the neighborhood, but he showed you can do it if you motivate yourself. And this school produced Chicago's finest for many, many years. I started here in 1950, and it was a great experience in my life. I took 2 buses to get here, and all you guys follow his example and just reach for the stars. You've heard all this bullshit before, but it's the truth. You got to make a goal, and you can do it. There's nobody stopping you. Thanks for letting me speak here.
Thank you, Freddie.